would like to speak in public comments, please step towards the microphone right here. Okay, we don't have anyone that would like to speak in public comments.
Mr. President, I'd like to move an item that we have here, number 6, discussion of the consideration of the Eagle Scout Cemetery project. I'd like to move that up to in the agenda for next.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to move the Eagle Scout project, which is item 6 on our agenda, to the first item of this evening. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Austin Rice, the floor is yours.
You're good. So Austin Rice, he's doing an Eagle Scout project. What he wants to do for his Eagle Scout project is clean cemetery stones in a lower cemetery, which is early 1900s, which we'd greatly appreciate. The product he's using is an environmentally safe product. The DPW will supply him water for this project, and so it shouldn't be any cost to the DPW at all. And Austin's here to explain his project.
Hi, my name is Austin Rice, as he said, and I am a student at Arrowhead High School, and I've lived in Heartland my entire life. And so I thought to myself, why would I would want to do a Eagle project for Heartland, because I love it so much. And so I did look back at the Arlington National Cemetery when I went there for a Washington, D.C. trip back about 4 to 5 years ago. And I saw that the stones were so clean, and how did they clean them? I looked up later, and they used D2, which is environmentally friendly chemical. And so I thought when we passed the cemetery, they have been not cleaned as much. I said, why don't I just help you guys out and clean it as an idea? And so then I looked and I saw that it was all environmentally bio-friendly, and cleaning it would be great. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Take your time. You're doing just fine.
So there is about, I believe, around 700 to 800 graves in the headstones in the lower bowl that I'd be cleaning, and I'll be trying to get multiple scouts to be cleaning it around for 2 weekends. I will need to do this. Around before October, because to keep the headstone safe, it needs to be above 40 degrees, and that I did the research on that the Arlington National Cemetery used in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
We also had one of our firefighters that has done this in cemeteries throughout southeastern Wisconsin, and he said that he'll guide Austin if he needs any guidance for this, but we fully support this project. We'd love to see this done.
Sounds like a great idea.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time.
You want a motion?
Do you guys have any questions for me?
More questions?
Good.
I'll make a motion to approve Austin Rice and his project for the cleaning of the cemetery headstones as an Eagle Scout project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that to approve Austin Rice for cleaning the headstones in the cemetery in the village of Heartland with the help of a DPW and the guidance of Mr. Schleyline, I believe, is the gentleman. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Rice? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Great
that's
idea.
awesome. It was a great idea. That's awesome.
All right. The next item we have, as we know that item was moved, so you can scratch 6, because that was item 6. We now have a consideration of a motion to approve the village board minutes from the July 12th, 2021 meeting.
Also moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is a motion to approve the vouchers for payments. This is in the amount of $368,485,94.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $368,485.94.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve paying the vouchers for $368,485.94. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. The next items that we have are a list of different licenses. In this case, it's just bartender operators licenses. This is for Caitlin Klein and Jared Stoll.
I'll make a motion to approve the operator's license for bartending for Caitlin Klein and Jared Stoll.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bartenders operators licenses for Caitlin Klein and Jared Stoll. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is, these are items referred from the Park and Recreation Board meeting. Discussion and possible consideration for food truck applications for Chick-Fil-A, Pizza Ranch, All the Crumbs, Divine Redeemer Lutheran, and Picnic Basket for Heartland Kids Day 2021, presented by Erin Guenterberg.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kelly Ogers. I'm the Recreation Director for the Village of Heartland, and I have Erin Guenterberg here as the event organizer for Heartland Kids Day. In front of you are all the food truck applicants' permits for her event that is this Wednesday, July 28th at Nixon Park. She has been doing this with us for
This is our 9th annual.
9th year, yeah. So ours has come to the Park and Rec Board first, usually January, but I believe this year Stephanie Cutler came on her behalf in February. And then the following week, Stephanie Cutler came to the village board and presented the packet and everything of the events. What was noted was that more food vendors was one of the improvements that they were going to do this year by bringing in more food vendors.
That is correct.
And to give you a little background, this was before we had the food truck policy that we had in place. So the Park and Rec Board approved the event with food vendors. They didn't specifically approve vendors. So, again, this kind of goes with the similar item as last week, but let you guys discuss
Say
it.
this actually is the exact same thing as that was approved last week. If you look in that packet that I have right in front of me, the chamber actually came before us at the exact same meeting as the Kids Fest did. Kids Fest came in and discussed it. I didn't see anywhere in there that there'd be more food people in their notes that I'm looking at from the board meeting. But if you go through, you can see other people that came forward and actually stayed in there of food being there and everything else, yet we rejected.
Were you at that park board meeting?
Tim's here.
Or Tim, I want to know, because I do agree, I mean, this is a little different than what we've normally, how we've done it.
This was approved by the park board, knowing that we had the vendors, we approved the vendors, but we did not know who they were at the time, because they weren't under contract yet or whatever. So we just approved it, and then actually, like Ryan said, the food vendor policy had not even been in place yet, so.
So how would this be different from last meeting?
Are you addressing me? or
I
are you
am addressing
them?
you, because you came forward this time and said that the
I was
park
all in
board.
favor of last time
I
too,
know you were,
so,
I know you were.
so,
I just want to be clear on how we're stating out there if we're gonna,
yeah.
The thing that I guess concerns me, I look at it, it says that on February 8th of 2001, a motion was made by Myers and Connor II to approve the use of Nixon Park for the Heartland event July 28th. And the board's already approved it. We gave it to the park board. They went through this stuff. They approved it. Now we got to come back and approve it again? I think that we have to work on this policy because it sucks. And, this isn't, we got a park board that's gonna do this. Now, if I'm setting up something in February, I don't know who's gonna come there for food. I don't know what the weather's gonna be. I don't know anything about it. To hold the thing and say we can't approve it until you get everything in, it's not gonna work.
Well,
So-
Mike, I'm gonna go back to what I said the previous meeting, is the reason why you're seeing it is because it was requested by the village board for you to see it. That was stated to be put in the policy, so that's the only reason why you're seeing it, is because you requested it as the village board.
I will say I requested it for the next meeting, Mike, for it to be put back on the agenda to rediscuss that policy, because I am in complete agreement with you that there is an issue with the policy itself.
I mean, I just don't know how many times we of the board have to approve the dang thing. I mean, it's a great thing. It's gonna happen, Wednesday?
Right.
Yes, we're less
I
than
don't know why you
48.
waited till the last minute.
no,
I mean, you're not the one, you did it in February. We
Look
don't
at
do
her
the last
face.
minute stuff. I think we're gonna have to re-look at that policy. I don't know how we can, how we can do anything but say, okay, we have to look at this, and we can't hold you up because of our, the way we've done things.
For the board, I just do want to say, there was a policy that was put in place, and I somewhat disagree, Trustee Myers, with what you're saying, because you're saying it was approved with food trucks, but at the time that it was approved, it was, we don't know which ones are, so we'll come back with them. Not that it has to be that way. I do agree, there's something, I don't know, it's very simple in the village. They're not on the streets, but they can be on private property. But when it comes to in the parks, originally we were gonna get rid of food trucks completely for the village, but it was like, hey, if someone's renting for an event, they should be able to have that option. I mean, it's a big event. Do you want someone having to leave and then come back to an event just because they're hungry and it's a 6-hour event or 4-hour event? But I do disagree with saying how many times does someone have to go through someone brought an event forward, they didn't know who their food vendors were going to be, and they know who their food vendors are right now. As it states right on the agenda, it says items referred from the Park and Recreation Board meeting. Those items get referred to us, just like when a plan commission does a development, we don't just say, okay, a plan commission said it's good, you're done. It comes to the village board because we are the ones that actually make it official. But it doesn't have to be like that.
What
We can switch it.
criteria do we use to evaluate food trucks? That you can't have this one because it's blue, and I don't really like seafood, so you can't have that one. I mean, it's like, if somebody's gonna come to us and they say, I wanna do an event, and we say, okay, we think this event sounds really good, we send it to the park board goes through and controls it, and it runs it. And then if it doesn't work out, we come back to the park board and say, hey, you screwed up. But why not say, if the park board's already done their job, they said, hey, we approved it, now it's coming to us to approve it again, we didn't trust your approval. I just don't see what I can do. I don't know outside of eating out of a food truck, what the hell I gotta do, how I decide which ones are okay and which ones aren't.
Nothing.
I mean, I don't have any idea. I mean, I like them or I don't like them. And so I don't know why we want to hold them hostage to say, hey, your event starts in 2 days and we didn't have all this information because we didn't know what food trucks you're gonna bring. You got the same event. So I don't know. We just have to evaluate that, and I hate to hold them up because of my misunderstanding of the way the hell the damn thing ran.
I don't mind if they have the food trucks because the park board said that they had, the park board already said with food truck. They've already approved the event with food trucks.
Right.
I don't think it matters who the food truck is.
So
Now, if the park board didn't, or if they came forward and said, well, we're only gonna have 2 food trucks, but then all of a sudden they came and that's, something that the board needs to address. But I don't wanna, I'm not out to, I think if you rent the park, you should be able to have a food truck there. But, I mean, something has to be done where it's appropriately put in place so that it can be followed. But now what I'm hearing, and some of what I've heard from staff and even from other trustees like yourselves, Mr. Myers, you're saying that it's inappropriate to have the policy. I wish that at the time that the policy was drafted, did we just vote on it just to get past it? And I don't think that the policy is all that great. I think we gotta look at it, and to Trustee Dorau's point, she did ask already and said put it back on. And I think it needs to be put on there, on whether or not we just say forget it. I want to be important to stand up for each one of the village board members. When the park board recommends something, the park board is actually a committee. It isn't like a plan commission or a police and fire commission. It's not a commission. It's a board that is there to look into things for the village board. We are the ones in charge of all of the village, and all I'm saying is, when they send something up, now, should we change it and nitpick which food truck? Not if they already said yes. We shouldn't, okay? I don't think we should. If the money hasn't been paid, should we say, hey, the money hasn't been paid, can't approve it? Yeah, that's what we're there for, kind of like the vouchers. We have them on our agenda every time, but it's almost every time they're there, but they're there so we can catch something that may be wrong. But I don't think it's to really change a lot of things with it. And there is a boondoggle here with the policy, and I don't know exactly at this point in time what the board really wants. I know 4 months ago when we were doing the policy, it was very important to the village board, or the majority of the board, that most of them came through us. If people want it to be where the park board just sends it through and we make it at time of event, and we just need to know the number, I know, and I'm only one person, but I'm fine with that, but let's figure out what we want. And I think we could achieve it by just putting it on the special events. You check how many food trucks you're gonna have, you pay the $75 fee for each one of those food trucks, and you just pay that as the event, but we're not gonna approve the event till you got that money in. We could do it that way, but it doesn't bother me no matter what food
So
trucks
for
we
this
have.
event, all the money was paid on time?
For the food trucks.
It's,
The money was paid.
I have paid all the fees.
Yeah,
Same
I
with the
have
other
paid all
one.
the fees.
Money was always been paid.
yeah.
Last
She's
event,
always
the
been
money was
on.
paid too.
I agree with what President said. However, if you look at these applications and the dates on them, 7/13, these are after the park board. And if we are gonna follow
Mike said.
and set precedents, if we turn down that one for, was that the chamber event, correct?
Yep.
If we turn them down, how can we approve these?
Well,
Because
that's
how
gonna-
did this individual one did not come before the park board, correct?
None of them did.
Okay, but you-
But she came, or
Right.
her
This is
assistant
where
came
this is
in
all-
February and said that there's going to be food vendors, and we just approved.
So
them.
how is this different from how we voted with the chamber?
It's not.
If I could, well, no, don't.
I'm just confused. I know you said you approved them, but then there should have been a blanket. It's very confusing. I agree. It has to be redone. It has to be simplified.
I believe how the events have happened is because of how well, first off, we're all getting used to this food truck policy, and it's already changed in May. When I brought it back to you, we changed it again. So obviously, yes, this food truck policy needs to be changed yet again because of situations like this. These are our learning situations. Yes, I completely agree. As I can relate to Erin completely as a person that does events. You don't always have your vendors right up front. And why would she want to say, hey, come here, be my vendor, be my event, go to the board, and the board says no. You know, she wants to say, yes, I have this event, yes, come and do my food for it. And if somebody says, I have pizza, the best pizza ever, then come on, you know, or if somebody comes forward last minute, that stuff happens. I get vendors for events, for arts and crafts, for the hometown celebration the day before. I never turn them away, you know, because it's a possibility to share that business with the community, and that brings people in. They might love that vendor. So I can completely understand, and with how this permit had evolved so much since January, February, whenever it first went into place, that's the complication of it, that we, even as staff, had to get used to of, okay, she came here now, okay, she's got to come again. I've worked with Erin. We are so accustomed to her coming. She presents. She says, Kelly, what do I need? We give her everything. We get her going. She comes first thing in January if possible, or February. She still came even when she couldn't be here. She made sure somebody was representing. And I remember Stephanie Sanders saying one of the feedback we always get is food trucks. We need more food. And I think you and I, we even know every year we need more food for the Heartland Kids Day. So it was known she was going to bring in food vendors. Did she know at the time? No.
Kelly, nobody's disagreeing with anything
Yeah.
you're saying, but how is this event different from the last event is what we're asking
For
you of
the
other food truck that was rejected.
The bunt of cake.
The only,
It's the
I can
exact
answer from my
same
interpretation.
thing. These vendors come last minute. That that, and I'm sorry I wasn't here for that, but I would say the same case. It's the same thing exactly as the situation. They came the same day. They said, we're going to have food vendors. We're going to have, it's for the Heartland Chamber. It's the exact same case. There is no difference. But it needs to be recognized that this food policy has hiccups. It has problems. And probably last meeting, we should have said, hey, we need to change this, because once I heard what happened, staff said, we need to change this policy. This is not a policy that is user-friendly for individuals or businesses or organizations that want to have events in our parks.
I think that the policy is fine, there's just one line on it I don't like, that it has to come back to the village board to vote on it. I think the rest of the policy we agreed on if we wanted it, but.
I think that, yeah.
I'm done.
I think that the most important thing, the difference that I see in this situation, it does not mean I'm right, I'm talking about my interpretation. The difference with these food trucks is that it does seem that there's a permission was given by the park board and by the village board to say, come back with your food trucks when you have them, and yes, the event is approved with food trucks. I don't know if anybody else has that interpretation. That's my interpretation of what happened, including what was written on the vote for the park board and the vote for the village board. However, that is outside of policy. I think the event needs to go to park board, the event needs to come to village board, and then we need to just get rid of us even individually doing things. If they paid, they have the insurance and they have the check, then we leave it up to staff to do that. But then staff better, I mean, if all of a sudden it turns into give me the check a week later after the food truck was there, it's gonna get pretty hot in this room, I can tell you that. And I mean that, because we can bend the rules, but how far do we bend them? We just came to a policy, and already we're not following it, and we have it seems like a majority of the people are saying this is stupid. Well, why'd we all vote on it for then? Why'd we vote on it if it's so bad?
I think we had the best intentions when we did it, and now we're finding out that there's little hiccups in there and that.
We
So
didn't know the
right.
hiccups, and now the hiccups are coming forward.
Right.
And that is what we have to address. This is a brand new policy, and like any policy, there are hiccups and we have to change it. We have to adjust.
Right.
So at this time, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the food truck application for Chick-Fil-A, Pizza Ranch, All Crumbs, Divine Redeemer Lutheran, and Picnic Basket for Heartland Kids Day 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve, as stated, the food truck applications.
Discussion, I made it the motion. I guess.
Discussion.
I do want to say that I just want, for a point of clarification, that when the park board and the village board in the memos, the chamber actually came before at the exact same meeting. If you go back through it, which is right here, there's actually a map that the chamber shows how many food trucks and where the food trucks are going to be. It doesn't name the food trucks, but it says how many, which was actually there. So to say that how that is different, that was actually incorrect, because at the same meeting, the chamber did the exact same thing. So that's all I have to say about this. I think that our job, one of the reasons that I became a trustee, is to make Heartland a better place, a more inviting place. I would like to see businesses come here and see this and perhaps have a franchise here, get a business here. We always want walking traffic. I think we need events like this, and if we're not going to be inviting to these events and to other businesses, then we're just kind of closing ourselves off, and we need that traffic. I'm done. I yield the floor.
Another discussion. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. Kelly, is there any way that you can get us a copy of the application for the Corona Ice food truck as well? We did not receive that in the last packet, but yet we made a double motion on,
They were one of the first ones.
right,
We'll
sticking
spin
to the applications, and there's a lot of conversation about applications, so
Mm-hmm.
we were only given one application, which was for the
No, I got a
Party.
copy of it, it was in there.
party in the park, for the
Corona
party.
Ice?
They
For
were
the
there
part,
for the
okay,
park.
I'll start
I'll
over.
have-
So, yes, so we had a motion 2 weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
for Corona Ice. But the motion was for 2 events, and we only had an application for the party in the park. But since these are 2 separate organizations and
You want to, gotcha.
yes, so if we could just see that one, just to make sure that it's all together.
Yeah,
Because there's been lots of
well,
discussion
I
for the
will
public
ask
and here and
Dee
just.
Dee is the keeper of the
That'd be great,
permits, and I'll
just to
have
make sure
her
it's in the
forward it
records.
to her.
Thank you.
to
And then,
guys.
I just wanted to say thank you to Erin, and thank you for standing here during all of this, because your event attracts a lot of families to our community. So, thank you for doing that.
Real quick, the Kona Ice is in here this time.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
It's page 32.
thank you.
It's the one that's dated.
Yep, paid 7/1/21.
Okay, thank you. I retract, thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, this is the one that was redone with tax, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. And I will say, even though I just voted, that motion passes. My no vote is for the reason that it's so confusing. I do agree with what Trustee Dorau said to bring it back. What I do want to see is that we do things by the book. I do understand that, and I'll be short with this, not only is it confusing just on the interpretations, but I mean, people were involved on coming up with the policy and voting on it, but then changing it later, we gotta get it with something, and I do agree. We don't need to choose on who the people are, or the
Exactly.
companies are at this level.
I think it's confusing when you take the vendors and put them into the same item as
Right.
well, for two separate events, and I.
Or vice versa,
I totally
to
agree.
throw it in there just so that people know and bringing it forward. And I know this is after the vote, but it's still part of it. Maybe it's that they just give the number to the park board, and when it comes to the village board, because we have 2 meetings a month, my fear there, Dee Dee, our deputy clerk, was calling me on the phone because she couldn't get hold of anybody. We had people that were out of the office and stuff at 2:45 and then at 3:15 in the afternoon, waiting for paperwork on one of these to come through. That is really cutting it close. And it's really tough on staff when they're trying to get stuff finished for the day.
Well, that's
follow our
also
policy.
tough on the event organizer, cause she
Yes.
was in, we were communicating with her, she was doing everything she could to get them, that is that organization's
Yes.
responsibility.
Can you repeat that for me, please?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you repeat what you just said?
She was in prior, filling out the permits for everybody, cause she pays for them all
I
to
pay
make
for
sure everybody is in. And it was on the businesses to get their information, like the liability and their insurance and
Sure.
that information in. So
Sure.
she, on her part, she was doing everything that she knew she needed to do. They were just being pokey and not on it.
Yeah, but
as a
that's not, and
business
that's where I'm
organization.
kind of talking, I'm just gonna, sorry, if the person pays for it and the person fills out the form, it is the event organizer's responsibility to get it in. Now, maybe the board disagrees with me, but these are the things I'm talking about. It's not, hey, we paid for it, now the businesses just take care of it. What I'm saying for this village board is that if they haven't paid for it or done it, there's gotta be a deadline where it's like, hey, they kept, that's not being mean to that's the event organizer. And in
No,
this
that's,
case,
this
in
is
the,
the
hold on a
deadline.
second, I'm talking. The chamber is a not-for-profit organization. It has come to my attention, this is a for-profit organization, so the time that she spends going and doing that is rewarded, in my understanding, with the amount of families. It's a great event for Heartland, but she is rewarded in dollars with that for Lake Country Family Fun. I'm not being rude with it, but
no,
I'm saying
yes,
when
you're
it's the
fine.
event organizer, that event organizer is making money from that event. When village employees are working to have to all of a sudden do a whole lot of extra work, that paycheck says Village of Heartland on it, and that's taxpayer money. And all I'm saying is it is the event coordinator's responsibility to make sure it all gets done. That's all I'm saying. It's not just pay for it and leave it go. But with that, I look forward to it coming up again so we can get this straightened out. And I'm sure Kids Day will be as wonderful as it always is. Thank you very much.
Wednesday. This Wednesday.
It is this Wednesday.
3 months.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, good luck.
The next item on the agenda is, these are items related from the May 17th, 2021 Plan Commission meeting. Consideration of actions related to the rezoning of the property at 415 West Capitol Drive from institutional to B3. Do you want to touch on anything with this?
Yeah, sure. Back in May, we scheduled the public hearing for, they sent it to the village board, we set it in June. If you recall, the developer wanted to move the meeting at least a month or two, and that would be till now. He has since pulled from that project. He's no longer looking into the Zion Lutheran property for the wedding venue. So that is, we still are gonna have the public hearing since we had it in the paper. But obviously, when we get to the motion to rezone, there is no need to rezone that property because it is no longer moving forward.
So do we just get a motion to skip?
I think you would just you would do item A, and then for B, you'd probably deny the.
Okay. We'll, the consideration of action related to zoning the property. The first item is a public hearing to receive comment on the proposed rezoning for property located at 415 West Capitol Drive for a rezone from institutional to B3. At this time, we will open the public hearing for anybody that would like to come up to the microphone and speak on that item.
I was unaware that it was canceled, so.
Well,
That's
not
one,
canceled.
it's not canceled, but your name and address, please.
Yeah, I'm Stephanie Lesniewski. My address is 341 Zion Street, so I'm right next door. I'm like about 12 feet away. So when I heard that they were thinking of making it, wedding venue, an activity center, I was concerned because my property is so close, and even already with when they have the Christmas train comes, people park in front of my driveway becomes parking for everyone. So obviously that's a concern, and just I'm concerned that if they end up going forward with this project, that there will be people there in the parking lot after it closes down, and there's going to be noise and drunk drivers, I don't know, drug activity, fights, just all sorts of nefarious activity that could go along with it. When I purchase a property, it's a church and it's real quiet, and it is really residential over there. It's not a lot going on, so it's just going to really change everything as far as how it feels to live there, and as far as property value as well. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comments? I'm sorry, comments in the public hearing. It's not public comments, it's a completely different section. I'm sorry, everybody. Public hearing's still
We were
open.
with you.
Public hearing's still
That's
open.
fine. We were with you.
Last call for the public hearing. And Clerk Eigel, at this time, we will close the public hearing. The next item on here is obviously, we know that developer has requested to pull it, but consideration of a motion in regards to the proposed rezoning of the property located at 415 West Capitol Drive for the rezone from institutional to B3.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the rezoning of 415 West Capitol from institutional to B3 and to keep it as institutional.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to keep the zoning on 415 West Capitol Drive exactly as it is. Is that?
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion is carried.
Real quick, so that'll just, anything that would come forward to, if any developer wanted to come, they would have to restart the whole process, so that's effectively what we did.
Just for the board, I just want to say the only reason I somewhat restated that motion is because of, as opposed to a denial, we just can leave it as it is. If anybody does not like that wording, I can restate it. Oh, no, I was just making sure. Okay. The next item we have is consideration of a motion to approve the Waukesha County Department of Emergency Preparedness Joint Powers Agreement. This is the county 911 emergency system.
Good evening, Chief Torrin Mesco, Heartland Police Department. You should have in front of you from our Waukesha County Communication Center a joint powers agreement for our county 911 emergency system. This is actually codified in state statute, so we should have this on an annual basis. To my knowledge, we have never received this in the 3 years I've been with the police department, but I think that's probably due to some changeover at the county leadership at the dispatch center, and they probably noticed the annual agreement hasn't been updated in a while. But what this agreement does is, like I said, it's codified in the state statute under state statute 256, and it's required for any 911 system, which we are part of through Waukesha County, that we enter into this joint powers agreement. So with that, seeing that it's bound by state statute, and if we were not to enter into it, Wisconsin Department of Justice would become and ask us some questions about that. I would recommend that we enter into this agreement as we have in the past.
Seeing that it's July, do you think they'll bring that in like November for 2022?
I have some emails out to the dispatch center on numerous issues, but this is one of them, and I was just making sure this will be moving forward on an annual basis as indicated in the state statute moving forward.
I move that we approve the Waukesha County Department of Emergency Preparedness Joint Powers Agreement.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Waukesha County Department Emergency Preparedness Joint Powers Agreement. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Next item we have is consideration of a motion to end the practice of the Village of Heartland paying membership dues to the Heartland Chamber of Commerce. This item came on the agenda from a request from a trustee. There's been one time in the past, a separate trustee has brought it up. This would not be for the remainder of 2021 because we've already paid those dues, and this would change no working relationship and working together by utilizing parks, police forces, and all the things that the chamber, when the chamber's having events for things that they do for the Village of Heartland. This would change none of that. It would simply separate that the government is not a dues-paying chamber member. However, the intention, at least of the item here, is that the village would continue to work with the chamber in partnership as they have on other things and maybe even growing that relationship, but it wouldn't be as a dues-paying member. But so nothing would change except for the dues each year, which is, I believe, $500. That's why the item is on the agenda.
Well, I didn't realize that we had paid that, because it's hard for me to say that we should take taxpayers' money that's paying us to run the village and us giving it to different clubs and organizations, because if you give it to one, then you got another one, then you got another one, you got another. How do you ever deny it? I mean, sounds like a food truck thing. You know, it just continues. We can't give that money. It's not our money to give. It's our money to take and provide the services for the village, and clubs and organizations are not something that we should be funding. I just have a hard time. I didn't realize it, and now I do, and it's like, how do I turn down the other clubs? I'm done.
I think it's important with well, I suppose I can wait for discussion. I don't want to be outside of the rules, but if we get a motion.
Is there any other organizations that we do that for as well? That we're not aware
Not as
of?
the whole village, as almost like the Village of Heartland. And we're not a business, but as a business, we send our dues. There's other things we do with the chamber that we'll continue to do if allowed, you know.
Non-chamber, I mean, like, is there anything else that we weren't aware of it?
Kiwanis
Is there-
or
yeah.
Rotary,
But
like,
there's
do we have
certain
memberships with those?
people that have written into their agreements. I know that the administrator, at the time that the administrator agreement was in place, for instance, will pay their dues for ICMA. I think that's what it is. I think ICMA, and they also could choose an organization to be in. So they could go as a member, as an individual, to an organization, be it Rotary, Kiwanis, Chamber. It was kind of up to them, but we would cover that. There's some other employees that are officers of the village, like our interim administrator and our clerk, that we allow them to join. Or it's not that we allow, but we say, yes, we'll cover those dues so that you can be part of part of that organization as an individual.
Right, that is different. I get that.
Right.
They're village employees,
Right.
so it makes sense.
The big thing here is that, or, well, at least I am not for, there should be no separation. It's just the change of paying the dues. What we become is actual partners. So it's not just that we're paying dues and we're part of that organization. We should continue the partnership and still continue to try to build on that. But we're not dues paying where we're just paying to be members as our organization to their organization.
Right. But my point was, is there any other dues that we pay outside of individuals?
I do not
That would
believe
be
so, and
similar
those
to
should be
this
brought to the board, because we've made it clear we want to know
Right.
about those.
Well-
They should be, but there's none that I'm aware of.
There, we do have, the bid that has their own membership. That's the Economic Development has their own membership that they pay,
Okay?
and have been paying. But,
To,
as I,
to who?
Heartland Chamber of Commerce membership?
Yes, the
Yeah.
big pays to the chamber.
Yes.
Sure.
But as I
Yeah, it's a
yes,
separate entity.
that's what I was saying. But I just, for clarification on what, to your question, the chamber, as I understand it, being on the board there in the past, is to help the companies and the businesses in the village of Heartland and help them any way they can. They do a lot of things to help the businesses. They have a lot of functions. Where the village, we don't, the citizens don't have a choice. They have to pay their taxes. And we have the responsibility of using that tax money as best we can for our taxpayers. So I think that's a little different view on things. And I'm done, but if you need any other figures, I've got them.
So, just had a quick question,
Sure.
just to clarify. So, because I like your question actually made me think of something. So I wanted to go back to Trustee Connor's question about different memberships. So, for instance, we do have staff that have a membership with like Kiwanis or Rotary or whichever, but that is paid by the village, which is taxpayer dollars.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So I would like to say that I looking through the chamber, obviously, I'm a huge component of any organization in this village because I think it's the only way we make our village stronger. We do not have, as I've said this over and over again, we do not have tourism here in Heartland. We don't have a lake. We don't have a golf course. We have Heartland, and Heartland's pretty amazing. And how Heartland is so amazing is that we have this great splash pad. How did we get the splash pad? From the Kiwanis, from the Rotary, from everybody else, that these different organizations, and we need to support them. They're supported in all different ways. I can tell you that do or die of supporting the chamber, I mean, of giving money, that's not gonna make or break the chamber. What it does is show solidarity of the village and the chamber working together. It was something that was put into place long ago. The chamber membership for the village is $500. The chamber in turn gives $250 every year to the parade. So really, splitting pennies, we're talking $250. And if we're talking that in 2020, we had 3,417 property tax bills sent out. Doing the math, I beg to differ of knocking on anyone's door to say, is this 15 cents to the chamber a good decision or a bad decision? Because just being at the street dance and at the other events that happen in the community, the trick or treat, that it's not businesses, it's bringing people into the community. We do other business organization things, but for our events like the trick or treat and the street dance, that's bringing people into this community again for 15 cents on their tax bill. I just don't think, first of all, I did send an email to you asking why this was brought up now. I thought that was quite strange that this isn't even due until January. Why the urgency of this? Because I truly thought I missed something. So it made me question, like, did I miss something? And then just trying to go back and do the math and see the difference. I can also say that the town of Brookfield is a member of the Brookfield Chamber of Commerce. Sussex is, their village is a member. Menominee Falls Village is a member. McGuanago is a member. Delafield is not, but their community supports them. They support the ice event that they have in the fall, which they always give they're the main supporter of it, so they give a couple $1,000s for that. We're not talking 500. They give a substantial amount, and then every other year they also support their community fest, which we partner up with Delafield to have. They also give money for that. Where the village does not give us money towards the chamber, we just give this one amount and say this is our support to you, along with everything else, which every other village does their events just as much and has the police support, the DPW support, which we need. Again, it takes a village to make something work, and that's just my thoughts on it, that all of them have that. We have just different events, and I think it's a great thing. And again, to stop the $500 isn't going to be anything. I do question if there's something else here. of what it is, because we are talking $500 mid-year of stopping an organization that we've supported for umpteen years this same way. So that's.
I had it put on the agenda, I screwed up. A person asked for it to be on the agenda. I didn't put it on the agenda. I figured it could be talked about at budget time. The person asked and said, no, I'd like it on the agenda. I'm not gonna just stop it from being on the agenda.
No, I get that, but.
That's,
Right, and that's why I question it, because it's not budget time, it's
I
not
just wanted to
nothing,
call
so-
out that it isn't until next year also to that exact point.
No memo.
Right.
As of late, we usually see memos in like the trustee's name and things like that it comes forth so that we can get some information. But
Right.
So I would agree.
In the future, if I do something, then I'll I'll tell them to put something in on how it got on there.
I'm just struggling because I go back again to we're paying a membership for people that are representing the village of Heartland for Rotary and Kiwanis, but we're not going to for the chamber. So I'm struggling with that. It's because to Trustee Meyer's point, it's taxpayer dollars, so it's either, to me, it's kind of an all or nothing thing. We just had that discussion when it came to the food trucks. And so it's like we can't change the narrative for a business, for a food truck, or for an organization just because it's that, and that's the one thing on there. We have to look at the 30,000-foot level. And we do have, it's an incentive for our employees to use to attract them to come work for the village of Heartland. And, to your point, which I do remember when we were discussing that for the administrator, it was like, please come and join one of our organizations, please choose, and we will cover that. Well, that's taxpayer dollars. So I'm struggling that the narrative is changing for just one organization when potentially we need to take a better look at what are all the organizations? And do we need to have a better partnership with all the organizations and look at our memberships and understand that a little bit more? And that to me is a very healthy discussion for the board to have instead of doing it one at a time randomly on July 26th. And to be honest, the optics of this looking on the agenda right now doesn't look good. It's 2 days after one of the largest events that the Village of Heartland has, and it's the chamber that puts all the effort forward. So the optics of it even, for us to be in discussion around, it just doesn't look good. And it's not fair to those volunteers, those businesses, or those people that came, because they don't understand, because we haven't done a full evaluation of it. So I would just stress to the board to really think about it before you start making a decision on just one organization when we don't have a good landscape yet of all of them, that we do have staff representing for the Village of Heartland, that the Village of Heartland pays for. That doesn't mean that we can't revisit it. I'm concerned about it being just one right now on the agenda. So, I yield.
As I understand what you said to start with, because I see that we do have sponsorship where, for the Heartland Chamber of Commerce, so we gave like $650 sponsorship, and we always get gift certificates, like almost $2,000 in gift certificates and such. From what you said, though, you said we would still support the chamber, volunteer, like at the, what's the new name of it? Party in the Park, and still volunteer and support them. All we're talking about, if I understood you correctly, is the annual membership.
Correct.
Okay.
That's my intention.
I
It was
just want to
requested to be on the agenda.
Yeah, that's my thing, because I would agree with you. Like, then we would need to maybe reevaluate.
Because
all
as a
of them.
business, I pay my membership to the chamber.
And as a family, the Ludke family pays a membership to the chamber.
Right,
So-
so I have
Pays a
dual.
member of Quanah. I mean,
Right, so I
don't
have
utilize
dual.
my trustee when I utilize my family membership as a family.
Oh,
That's
and a
my
family
what I mean?
can.
Absolutely.
A family can, but a family's not,
Absolutely.
a government is very different.
So that's why I'm just putting that out
A
there so you
government
all
is a
know. I mean,
government.
several of us on the board either have a membership with the chamber or the Rotary or the Kiwanis, which that's independent than what we're talking about here.
Right.
Yes.
Right, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but it's a dual then.
Which is
For me.
my point, like, that's where I'm struggling, because it's one organization, which I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I understand what everybody's saying. Trustee Myers, I think you hit the nail on the head. But my concern is that when the question was asked, what other organizations are we? Well, we gotta look at them all, because though we're incentivizing staff to go be a part of those organizations, therefore they're representing the Village of Heartland as a staff member of the Village of Heartland, which is the same thing that's up for discussion right now, so I think I've made my point.
But
I
that's as an
apologize for
individual,
repeating it.
right?
So.
You're talking about that's as an individual, though.
No, like if, may I pick on you, Administrator Bailey? If Administrator Bailey is on the Rotary, the Lake Country Rotary,
But it's
but
him-
he's representing the Village of Heartland as a Village of Heartland staff member on the Lake Country Rotary, and it's an incentive in his package to come work for the Village of Heartland, we are using taxpayer dollars to pay the salary for the Administrator Bailey, as well as his incentive to have a membership with the Rotary.
But
So we would just need to evaluate all of those, I think, instead of just one. And I don't disagree with the item on the agenda, I'm just saying, I don't want us to pick and choose to change the narrative for each organization.
But at the small difference there that I see from what you said, he's the only member. It doesn't mean I'm a member.
She is correct. The chamber's the
Okay.
only organization where we pay, we
May I
pay
pick
a
on
full,
May I ask a question? So our previous Administrator Rotary was on the Kiwanis, correct?
no,
Was he on
Rotary.
Rotary? Has anybody taken that seat for him?
No,
Okay.
it's because it's for an individual.
That's why I was wondering. But
Yep.
but I still think we should look at that, because to this point, the membership for the chamber is for all of the individuals.
It's
not-
for the entire, all
Yeah.
of our employees,
Right.
basically.
So any employee could use it.
Correct, so police,
Right.
fire,
Yeah.
library.
It's just the narrative keeps
village.
changing.
It does.
So,
You're-
but, I'm sorry, I've overstated my point, so, thank you for the floor.
If anyone wants to make a motion, if no one wants to make a motion, it's totally up to the board.
I think we should, I'd like to make a motion to table it for now. I think it should be brought up at the point at budget and evaluate every single thing that's out there, organizations, and like I said, it's tough for me to say yay or nay to one if I don't know that we're doing the others. If I knew for sure that nothing else was done, and then it would make sense, but
Well, no, he's tabling.
I'm explaining why I'm tabling it. So I make a motion to table it to bring it up within our budgets and evaluate other things as well.
It's been moved and seconded to table the practice of paying membership dues for the Village of Heartland to the Chamber of Commerce. Discussion, you made the motion. Your floor is yours first, Rick, if you want to.
I think I made my discussion with my motion.
Okay.
I agree with Rick. I also agree with Trustee Myers that government should not be paying anything towards a nonprofit or profit organization, because then we need to, if we do that, then any corporation or non-entity can come to us and say, hey, you're paying a dues to them, pay a dues to me too. So by looking at it all, looking at what we do, how we pay, who's in it, who's not, I think it's a great idea. But it needs to be looked at.
I think it does too. I think I do find I've never thought of government as something that's an entity that really should pay towards those things, but they should work together. I mean, we have county organizations, we have local Heartland associations where we should work together, but I don't know if it needs to be necessarily where government is paying just to be a member of an organization that should be working together anyways. Now, does that mean that the Heartland should, as a village, and a government should not be letting people know that are new or whatever, that the chamber exists and pay for it? They should. I just don't, I don't think governments aren't a business. Our customers have no choice. 2 years they don't pay taxes, we take their house. Done. That's the way it works. We are not a business. We are government. We use business practices to keep track of the money, but we are not a business. And anyways, it's been moved at, anybody else?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to confirm so that if this is approved or not approved, when you state this, are you stating, like, I'm a member of the GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association? We have 18 officers as part of the State Police Officer Association. We have Waukesha County Public Works Association, the Recreation Association. We have the Wisconsin Fire Chiefs Association. These are all, is that what, I just want to get a clarification. Is that what you guys are intending?
I'm talking about the village.
When I say that, that's part of my professional organization that I need for my continuing professional education.
That's different.
It's
But
not.
I want,
It's not.
It's all not-for-profit organizations.
That's what I'm trying to get a clarification, and, because I just want to make sure I asked all the staff.
Personally, I don't think it hurts for the village board to know where our staff is and where they're being representative. I don't have a list of, I mean, I know they're a part of organizations, so if it makes the process a little easier and it cleans it up, it just shows that we looked at the 30,000 foot level.
Okay.
That is a good idea, I mean, because then we know a ballpark, the whole number all the
Yeah.
way around, how much are we.
And I'm not, yeah, I'm not saying
That
that.
helps
if
us
it's
as we
part of-
continue to move towards, I'm sorry, I cut you
No,
off, go ahead.
I'd say it's part of the education, part of job description to further, I'm all for that, but to her point, we as a board should know what's out there, so when we make a decision, we've been, I guess,
Educated rather than-
educated and that, and so, yeah, well, like that, we can go back to minutes, oh, they forgot, here it is, but not knowing and making decisions kind of haphazardly, I think,
Right.
does not make us look good.
And that's exactly what, to your point, is that, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, instead of being a reactive board, we need to be a proactive board, and this is the perfect example of being proactive and seeing what's out there, what's available, and what we should be part of and what we shouldn't be part of. There's no right or wrong answer for any of the organizations, certainly. It's just that, to Trustee Lucky's point, that we can't pick and choose. And we need a big picture rather than, again, being reactive and saying, we want this one off, and it's not even at budget yet. That, to me, just blows my mind.
But we gotta be careful that we don't separate what is social and organizational wise and what's part of a contract. If we have an administrator with a contract, that part of the contract is he's gotta be enjoined, we have a police chief that's gotta be a member of the association. We have a fire chief that has to be a member of the association. We've got, different, the recreational department, which is a state. That, to me, that organization is different than, let's say, joining a local club. Now, if that local club, a question always comes up is, are all the members of that club Heartland residents? Are there some that are in that organization from Pewaukee, North Lake, Delafield, I mean, whatever, are they all from here? Now, are we, that's a concern too. So, when we're looking at it, you're looking at a complex type look at it. I mean, I was on the board for the chamber, I was a president of the board, I ran the street dance for about 3 or 4 years, all that stuff, and I know what it's like, and my business is a member of that. I have a problem with taking my tax dollars rather than paying Dave for all the DPW work and putting it into an organization that is not an organization that maybe you don't agree with or you don't agree with, but because, hey, it's an organization, so it's not easy. It's not easy, but I just want to hold our taxes down, that's all.
It's not easy, and I agree with Trustee Connor, and I really respect that, what he brought forward of saying, to have it looked at and to look at everything, because again, reactive and proactive is huge, and it's not just this one organization we're speaking of. It's a lot bigger of a picture. So,
Can I just get a clarification? You say until the budget.
Well, when we,
Which step? Like the budget presentations, the final? Sure. I'm just trying to,
the presentation,
okay, that's fine.
Just so anybody else on discussion, just so everybody's clear, we're tabling this until budget time,
Budget's
somewhere in the
It'll
budget.
be in September for the budget
September.
presentation.
September?
If it's approved.
All,
September's what you said?
Yes, there's 2 September dates.
approximately, give or take a month
There you go.
or two,
So what is the actual motion now?
to table
table
this
this.
table it.
Until the budget.
until the budget time in September.
Okay,
We can
thank
look at the
you.
other stuff.
We'll work on getting the board to list the organizations.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion carries, that motion's done. Announcements.
I'd like to make the announcement of the Heartland Party in the Park that happened this weekend, and what a great event it was. As usual, extremely hot. Got to use our fancy fire truck and ambulance, do a couple calls because of the heat. It was good people. It was just a nice time. Big thank you to our police, fire, and DPW, and Park and Rec like normal, that all the great stuff that they did to make it happen as well.
I would just like to do a thank you to Mary and Joel Pfeiffer on East Capitol Drive. They hosted individuals from around Waukesha County at their house this week to support the Pewaukee Arts Council, and they had art on display. And so it was packed. East Capitol Drive was packed with cars, and just another way our residents are bringing people into the community. And it worked out well because then I think they all started coming down to the party in the park. So just a thank you to them for that effort.
Absolutely.
Next Thursday, August 5th, is National Night Out at Nixon Park. It's our first one we've ever done. It is going to be at the park. Businesses, organizations that are part of Heartland can come and get a booth for free. Little 12 by 12 area. They just got to bring a booth. Register in advance with me, so I know they're coming. We're going to have the fire trucks, police trucks, armor vehicle. Flight for Life is going to land. We're going to have Miles Wangeren playing from 7 to 8. Standard duo opening act from 6 to 7. The National Night Out is from 6 to 8, so I hope you guys can come by, or please spread the word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a comment, if I could. With Facebook and all the multimedia out there, there's just a wealth of information floating around. I think as elected officials, we've got to be very careful in what we say or what we do to identify ourselves as a elected official, that it's not interpreted as an endorsement that the board has approved this event or that the board is sponsoring this event. There's different things that we just want to make sure that when it's Mike Myers, it's Mike Myers. It's in the Mike Myers Village of Hartland Trustee, and I really like that Kiwanis program. I'm not supporting that. The village board is not supporting that program. And I just want to make sure that we all know that that moniker that we carry with us, with the Village of Trustee, Village of Hartland Trustee, or President, is that it's something I really got to be careful with. I got a couple calls this weekend for people that want to support from what they read in the Facebook. And I said, well, you didn't read it all. And I just want to be careful that, you know, we're doing a great job of trying to work things with the community, but we also have to make sure we protect that moniker of what we represent, and that we don't make any statements that say that we're if I endorse it, the board endorses it. You know, and no, it doesn't work that way. We all do it. So I just want to throw that out because there's just so much crap that's out there now that it's just want to make sure everybody's safe. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Chief?
Just had two quick little updates I want to bring. So 2 weeks ago, right after our village board meeting, our last village board meeting on July 13th, we did assist the Division of Criminal Investigations with an incident they were investigating. If you heard of the shootings in Caledonia, we had some involvement in those incidents. There was 2 separate shooting incidents at 2 separate gas stations. First incident was just an uninvolved party. The second incident was involving an on duty but plainclothes Racine County investigator. In both incidents, a person died in each incident, and the Racine County investigator was wounded by gunfire and is still recovering from that. Our involvement was the person that was the suspect. The person involved in the shooting was identified as John McCarthy, who is a Village of Heartland resident, and we assisted with doing a search warrant of that residence. So we were very heavily involved in the investigation from that perspective. It gets a little complicated from the Caledonia incident because of the 2 separate crime scenes, 2 separate shootings, where Racine County's running with one investigation, and then DCI, or the Division of Criminal Investigations, is running with the other one that involved the officer. So we had a very busy week trying to get everything together and get that over to our law enforcement partners that were doing the main investigations with that. And I just wanted a quick update. We had our PFC meeting that night as well. And we did get approval to move on to the background stage with another one of our officer candidates. So we have started that process, and we're hopeful to be through that and everything is successful and we can move to the next step soon.
Great, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. I only have 2 announcements, and I'll just say, because we're all here, I'm going to say them. We got that at first, I think we wanted to go to a pub and do some stuff, as the board, to go over those logos. I think we might tighten that up a little bit, and we'll just do them at one of the rooms. And we also have an upcoming, training / just roundtable meeting we're going to be having. I just wanted to let the board know I will be scheduling those soon. I think I might even do the logos like on a Wednesday night, because it falls into what is our committee of the whole. That's right in there, but I hope, for the logos, I'm gonna schedule it. So if there's certain days that you know you'll be gone, please email me now, because I'm gonna end up scheduling it. It's like, if you can make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. But I will try to make sure I don't do it if someone's not there. But, so please do shoot that to me, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the training thing. Now, maybe people feel there's a little less or more. We're gonna feel that out with the board. We'll just hit on the topics that people feel we really need to go over. And then I think I think it'd be a good idea for us to do that annually. I know we were gonna do it right after the other one, but we'll just do it all the time. But we'll schedule it 6 months in advance. So at that meeting, we'll schedule the one that'll be after April. So just wanted to let everybody know that. It's trying. We also have a couple committees that I wanna talk about that we might organize, but I'll talk about it at those meetings. No more announcements?
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Aye. This meeting's adjourned.
I was asking.